Come on, go ahead, sit down, sit down. I don't know why I'm on this stage with Brian and Jen here. We should just get Brian up here to serenade us with that beautiful voice. It's like we have like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson leading worship today, and Lou Dort is here to like close the game out. It's an honor to be here, and I think this is my 6th or 7th time here, something like that, 5th or 6th. I've been here a lot. It's so good to see so many of my friends and the whole staff. I spent a lot of time here. Usually when I come, I'm here for a week, as I am this time again, but it came on Wednesday. We'll leave Tuesday, so it's been amazing just to be here with family. This has really become a home away from home for me. And Lyle and Allison become some of our closest friends that we vacation with and talk with and spend a lot of time with. Have become amazing friends with us. And Lyle mentioned it, my wife is one of 7 kids, and all of her sisters, all of their spouses and children, so like 16 of us flew here on Tuesday. So we've been here for a week, so all my in-laws and all the children and my wife and all of them are over there, sitting there, if you want to say hi to them. So it's been a great trip. But I'm gonna jump in and honor the clock today. But I want to share something that's been on my heart and just a word that I've shared at home. And we're gonna read just 2 passages of scripture that we're gonna dive in today. First one, Matthew chapter 5, verse 6. Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5, 6, 7. Some of those famous verses of Jesus in the entire New Testament. Matthew 5, 6 is this: "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled." 1 Peter 2, we'll spend the rest of our time here. "So get rid of all evil behavior, be done with deceit, hypocrisy, jealousy, and all unkind speech." Look at this, zoom in here. "Like newborn babies, you must crave," everyone say crave? "You must crave pure spiritual milk so that you will grow into a full experience of salvation. Cry out for this nourishment now that you have had a taste of the Lord's kindness." Today I want to unpack this theme, and we'll spend some time to get there, but the idea throughout the Bible on hunger and thirst. Hunger and thirst. My wife Julia, we have 3 children. Our son will be 12 here in a few months. Our daughter will be 10, and then we have a 3.5, almost 4-year-old son. If you're wondering, that 10-year-old to 3-year-old is a pretty big gap. It's called COVID, got really boring, and so we had another child. So we have 3 children, and if you have not been around a pregnant person, especially all you single people or your relatives ever, I know Allison is pregnant, I know Katie is pregnant, everyone's pregnant around. Every time I come, it's like a whole new wave of just like who's pregnant. And I don't know, especially for you single people, when you get married and have children, pregnancy cravings are gonna test your marriage. I can't describe to you in Greek, English, or Hebrew what happens when a woman gets pregnant and these things called pregnancy cravings kicks in. And it's always at the most inconvenient moment. I mean, at 2 in the morning. We have 3 children. Our oldest, my wife, she only ever wanted Taco Bell. The whole pregnancy craving, Taco Bell, Crunchwrap Supremes, beans instead of beef, soft taco, extra sour cream, okay? All the time. My second child, my daughter, all she wanted was Chipotle. Chipotle every day, all day, burrito or salad, didn't matter, just Chipotle all day. The third child, it was KFC mac and cheese. Not the chicken, the mac and cheese. But something interesting happened with this last child. She didn't just gain a craving, she lost one. Now, for the many of you that don't know my wife, she is full Italian from upstate New York. All that means is my house smells like garlic and pasta and focaccia bread all day, every day. So if you walk in my house, something is baking, something is cooking, and it smells like olive oil and onions. What happened with this last child is my wife, as a full-time, lost all hunger for onions, pasta, lost it all. This child stripped her citizenship from Italy from her. Robbed her of her citizenship. She couldn't be around it at all. And then the minute that child was born, those things came back. What is fascinating to me about pregnancy cravings is it's not the individual, the mother, that is choosing to crave something. It's the thing within them that is growing is dictating what the one carrying it longs for. It's crazy to me. There's some women that they don't like that type of food ever unless they're pregnant. Something switches. Which I find it so fascinating when it comes to a spiritual term, that what is growing within you should be dictating what you long for on the outside. So it's interesting, the Bible does this from Genesis to Revelation, is it plays with natural metaphors with spiritual inclinations. From Genesis to Revelation, it does this. And one of them is that when you get saved, you get born again. You become a baby, you get born again, and you start over, and something begins to grow within you. You begin to crave for something. You begin to long for something. You begin to be transformed when you get born again. Now, what's interesting is when your children begin to grow up. I have an almost 12-year-old. One thing you'll notice really quick with the older children is when they start denying meals, you know something's wrong. Hey, buddy, are you hungry? No, I'm good. Next meal. Hey, are you hungry? I'm not hungry. The next day, are you hungry? If a day and a half or so goes by and your child is still denying food, you know something is off. Because the denial of hunger proves an inward sickness. There might be no fever. There might be no snotty nose. There might be nothing except if you're not hungry after 1, 2, or 3 days, I know something internal is off. I would submit to you this morning that if physical lack of hunger shows an illness, how much more does a spiritual lack of hunger show that something within us is not working as it should? And the parents will identify with this, especially the males in the room, the husbands and fathers. I watch my kids sometime while Julie's at work. Buddies, are you hungry? Not hungry. An hour later, can I get you a snack? Not hungry. Hey, you haven't eaten all day, can I feed you? Not hungry. And then mom walks through the door. And you all know, Dad hasn't fed us today. What do you mean Dad hasn't fed you today? I've offered you 37 meals, an Uber Eats gift card. I've done everything for you. And you have the audacity to tell your mother, Dad didn't feed me today. But what's unfortunate is that spirit has stepped into the church. And it sounds like this. Well, I left the church because I wasn't fed. I went to a new church because that pastor wasn't feeding me. That worship wasn't feeding me. My children could claim I wasn't feeding them, but the honest truth is they were on a hunger strike. Friend, it is a big difference of not being fed and being on a hunger strike. There are many Christians in this world that the fact that they're leaving churches is not because they're not being fed. It's that they've decided, I'm not hungry today. You see, understand this, right? My job, Lau's job, Allison's job, Michelle's job, whoever's on this stage, this is a table being prepared. But I can't force you to eat something you're not hungry for. That's why even God says in Psalms 23, I prepare a table. But notice the key language, I prepare. He doesn't say I force feed you from the table. He doesn't say I make you eat from the table. He says I prepare a table for you in the presence of your enemy. In other words, you have to pull a chair up and decide you want to eat the meal that's being prepared. I wonder how often we leave services starving, not because Lau wasn't feeding, but you weren't hungry. I wonder how many Sundays we leave still famished and we think the stage didn't feed well, but we came with a heart posture, I'm just not hungry today. I've learned that God goes where he's wanted and he stays where he's stewarded. I'd like to ask you, just real simply today, right now in this season of life, what are you craving? What are you hungry and thirsty for? What's fascinating is the Bible gives a lot of interesting details. Clothing, the Bible gives much note to what people wear. The Bible gives much note to distance and times and names and cities. The Bible gives a lot of abstract details that are not there for literature, they're there for theology. It's not just because Matthew wanted you to know that, the Holy Spirit wanted you to know that. And one of the interesting things about the Bible is it gives a lot of detail to food. I find it interesting that it's food that God has kicked out of the garden. And what's the last thing that Jesus says before he dies on the cross? Pass this cup and pass this bread. Why? Because Adam and Eve passed the fruit, so Jesus had to pass the cup. And it was food that got us kicked out of the garden, and it's communion that welcomes us back in. Food matters to biblical literature. Interestingly enough, when you study the book of Exodus, every single time that God moved Israel locations, he changed their diet. Every time. Get up, we're moving. And this time, no leeks, no onions. What? Are you against leeks and onions? No, in this season, you're not hungry for that right now. He'd get them up, he'd move them again. He'd go, all right, leeks are back on the menu, onions are back on the menu, cucumbers back on the menu. You just told us last season we couldn't eat that. Because God knows when seasons change, so should diets. And it's a frustrating season, friends, to be moved into a new season but still hold an old diet. And the old diet pulls you back into old seasons. Because you won't allow God, when he moves you into new seasons and moves you into new places, to also change what you crave. To crave what you long and hunger for. So much so, the Apostle Paul has the audacity to summarize the whole Old Testament in a few verses. You ready? 1 Corinthians 10. The Apostle Paul tells this in the church. I don't want you to forget, dear brothers and sisters, about our ancestors in the wilderness long ago. All of them were guided by a cloud that moved ahead of them, and all of them walked through the sea on dry ground. Look at the language. In the cloud and in the sea, all of them were baptized as followers of Moses. All of them ate spiritual food. And all of them drank spiritual water. For they drank from the spiritual rock that traveled with them, and that rock was Christ. Yet God was not pleased with most of them. Why? And their bodies were scattered in the wilderness. Look at it. Paul is summarizing the entire 40-year Israel journey. These things happened as a warning to us. What's the warning? So that we would not crave. Are you telling me that a 13-day journey got turned into a 40-year loss of a season because of craving things they should not crave? That is what Paul is teaching. You know what happened to our ancestors? They craved things they shouldn't have craved. And you know what their cravings turned into? A elongated season that should have taken 13 days. I wonder how many of us in this room have made a season longer than it should have ever been. Because we would not allow God to address, change, and revert what we crave. Friend, you know this, right? Amongst many things, not to get too theological at 11:30 in the morning. But you know this, that one of the major reasons that we are different than Buddhists, beyond some theological dogma, but one of the major things that divides us and Buddhist spiritualities is in Buddhist spirituality, they believe that it's called detachment theory. You need to detach from earthly things, sex, food, games, cornhole, fireworks. If you enjoy that, it's because you're immature. You need to detach yourself, and the more detached you are proves the more mature you are. They call this detachment spirituality. Friend, in our belief system, we don't detach ourselves, we reorder ourselves. God is not concerned what you enjoy, but he's concerned on which order it holds in your life. We don't detach, we reorder. Because if physical things are bad, why does Jesus have one of them for the rest of perpetuity? Call that body. So we are people that crave. You and I were made this way. By the way, if you lose your cravings, you cease being human. To crave is to be human. See, many of you, the reason why you're stuck in a cycle is you're trying to get rid of something you should reorder. You know that Jesus asked 307 questions in the Bible? 307, Jesus asked. You know what the number one question over 220 times he asked? What do you want? To a blind man. Could you imagine being blind, showing up to Jesus, like, what can I do you for? A paralyzed man carried by 4 friends. What can I help you with? Now, we must wrestle this down theologically, because are we saying that God doesn't know what man wants? Is Jesus legitimately asking, what do you want? I would refrain. No, of course Jesus knows. He wants the person to admit what they want from him. I know what you need, but do you know what you need? And I want you to say it. I want you to describe what you want from me. Friends, I've come to ask you a real simple question. What do you crave for? What do you long for? Well, I think many of us would want to say I crave God. Or I want to crave God. Well, here's just a few ideas, a few thoughts. We'll try to get through them. I had to skip the majority of this sermon last service. They didn't deserve it. We'll see if we can get through these 5 points. So I want to talk about cultivating a craving for God. Number 1, how do I do this? Well, real simple. Cravings are cultivated. I know it's simple, but here's the reality. You're not going to wake up tomorrow morning with a craving. You're not going to wake up tomorrow morning and just accidentally crave God. It is something that you have to cultivate, that you have to choose, that you have to steward. See, the Greek word cultivate means to strongly and persistently pursue. Strongly and persistently pursue. You see, what you're doing on these Sundays and at presence nights and at Bible study and at summer school and at all the connect groups, all the things you're doing, what are you doing? You're putting yourself in a position to cultivate a craving. And time after time, I'm cultivating, I'm creating, I'm sowing, I'm cultivating a craving for God. Look what Richard Foster says. A farmer is helpless to grow grain. All he can do is provide the right conditions for the growing of the grain. He cultivates the ground, he plants the seed, he waters it, and then the natural forces of earth take over, and up comes the grain. Look at this. This is the way it is with spiritual disciplines. They are a way of sowing to the Spirit, but by themselves, spiritual disciplines can do nothing. They only get us into the place where something can be done. It's not prayer that's necessarily changing you. It's the discipline of prayer that you're putting yourself in a position for God to cultivate and for God to sow. You see, you have to cultivate the area that God is growing within you. And this is what's frustrating about God is he's written this text in such a way where your participation is mandatory. You want me to heal you? Yeah, stretch your hand. Well, can't you just do it? No, I want you to be involved. See, some of you, it's almost like you serve magic more than God. And you think you just serve some ethereal spiritual power that just deems himself upon you as if your will, your soul, your mind, your spirit, your mind is not engaged at all. He's just gonna do it for you. Friend, you don't serve a wizard. You serve a father that wants to be in relationship with you, and he wants your mandatory participation to be involved. I don't know about you, but my Bible's never fluttered over to me. And the page is open. I heard, "This is your father. Eat of this book." I've never had that. And if you have, you need to get off some stuff. No, I choose to get up and go get my word. I choose to get dressed and make my way to the house of God. It is a cultivating of this craving. Now notice 1 Peter, friends, who is he writing to? He's not writing to unbelievers. He's writing to saints and disciples in the church. And he tells them, make sure you crave God. Well, I thought I automatically would if I was saved. You have to crave him. And you have to cultivate this craving. Now, what's interesting, if you went to a restaurant today that you've never been to in your life, and a plate went by of food you've never had, and I asked you, don't you crave it? You'd be like, no, my guy, I've never had it. Exactly, you can't crave something you've never tasted. That's why you can be invited to church and sit in a room like this. Like, it doesn't take all this. It's extra, the band, the worship, the lights, the people. I don't know what you guys do. This isn't spiritual, emotional stuff. You are simply admitting you can't comprehend something you've never tasted. That's why God says in Psalms 34:8, David writes, oh, taste and see. Biblical order matters, friends. It does not say see and taste. Because there's some aspects of God, even if you see it, doesn't make sense to you. You got to taste it. He says, oh, taste and see that I'm good. So I just want to ask you real quick, what are you cultivating right now? In your marriage, your finances, your relationships, your friends, your sexuality, your thought patterns, your DMs, your late night when no one's looking, your Friday nights when you think God's not around because he only lives in the church on Sundays. What are you cultivating? And you know what I found? Most Christians don't like the harvest they receive because they didn't think about what they were cultivating early on. Friend, it's always easier to uproot a seed than cut down a harvest. There are people in this room, you are cultivating something you don't want. But it sounds like it was just one night. It was just one hit. It was just one bottle. It was just one needle. It was just one night. It was one night. It's nothing. It's just one thing. And that one night turns into 6 years of counseling and undoing the damage that was done over 1 weekend of time because you thought, I'm not cultivating anything. This is just a one-time thing. And then one night turns into 1 week and then turns into a month and then turns into 6 years. And what are you doing? You're cultivating. If you imagined every decision you made like seed, what harvest is coming? This craving is cultivated. Second, cravings must be guarded. Must be guarded. My wife, we've become beekeepers. Oh yeah. Full suit, backyard, bees everywhere. Our last year, we got 230 ounces of honey from our backyard. And I thought, it's the first time being a beekeeper, you just set the bees and come back and get your honey. So I thought, bees do the bee thing. I'll be back to get my goods. So about a month before harvest time, we're supposed to get the honey. I come back and there's hornets going up and in our nest. And I'm like, oh, I hope the bees defend themselves or, something. Hope the queen bee does what queen bees do and just, right? So then I started doing some research. I learned that there are many things that the ones that like ants and bees and squirrels, when they start sensing or smelling the honey, they want to get in there and you have to defend what's being grown. I can't just set the bees there and let the growing happen. I have to defend and ward off and guard the things that wanted to destroy the thing I'm trying to grow. How much more with our spirituality, we don't just crave the good things, we have to guard ourselves from the things. It's like this, why do I keep working out and want McDonald's right afterward? I'm undoing what I just did. And then we get stuck in these patterns and think God's not faithful. Because we've not learned how to guard what's being deposited. We've not learned how to guard what's being stewarded. A.W. Tozer says this, the unattended garden will soon be overrun with weeds. The heart that fails to cultivate the truth and root out error will shortly be a theological wilderness. These cravings have to be guarded. Third, let's keep going, because I want to land somewhere. And it's hotter than Sheol up here. Third, cravings bring change. Are you ready, Pentecostals? You're not going to like this, because I am one. But go back to 1 Peter chapter 2. I want you to see this. You missed it. When we read it, I guarantee you missed it. Hypocrisy. I want you to, like newborn babes, crave pure spiritual milk so that you might not shake, not fall over, not have goosebumps, grow. So I want to ask you, is your cravings leading to experiences or growth? Man, us Pentecostals love a good experience, don't we? We would rather have an experience than go to counseling. We'd rather be hit with the Holy Ghost at an altar than change our patterns. We'd rather be slain in the spirit than learn how to budget. Like, again, we think we serve this like magic wizard that just like, bop, there you go. No, friend. The reason why we crave things is so that we grow, that we mature. So I want to ask you today, is your craving leading to growth? Or are you still at the same level you were 10 years ago in the faith? That's why Paul says, you should be teachers by now, but I have to still give you milk. You should be eating meat by now, but you won't grow up. Friend, you know this, right? Spiritually speaking, it's a lot different being childless and childlike. God has called us to be childlike, not childish. Not the same. Our craving is actually supposed to bring. Hi, Colton. Good to see you, buddy. That was fun. I heard you laugh. I heard you right over there. Growth. So some of you are like, I crave God. Are you growing? My dad just died 2 months ago, May 6th. And one of the things that happened toward the end of his life is he couldn't eat anymore. He had a stroke on this side of his brain, and his tongue wasn't working, so he couldn't digest or swallow food, so we had to give him a feeding tube. And obviously it's internal, right? We can't see, and he had this feeding tube for about a week, and a week after that he started, throwing up and aspirating, and we come to find out a week later that the feeding tube was giving him all of the nutrients, but his body couldn't digest it. And so because his body wasn't digesting what he was given, he was malnourished. Friend, some charismatics are so good at receiving, but they never digest what they receive. And it leaves you spiritually malnourished. And you blame God for not feeding you, but the reality is you just don't digest what he feeds you. Because how you grow in your body is you digest. You grow, you digest what you're eating. Cravings bring change. Number 4, cravings are cried out for. Look at 1 Peter 2. Cravings are cried, look at 1 Peter 2. Cravings are cried out for. Like newborn babes, crave this pure spiritual milk. Now that you've tasted his kindness. I think we're missing a verse there too. I think you're missing verse number 2. But it says, cry out for this nourishment. Have you been around a newborn baby lately? When they get hungry, they use them lungs. And they let a voice come to show and prove I'm hungry. Notice, friends, what I did not say. I did not say that cravings have a volume. I said cravings have a voice. Because if we're not careful as charismatics, and again, I am one, I speak in tongues every day. If we're not careful, we think the louder you are, the more God hears you. The louder you are, the more you mean it. The louder you are, the more spiritual you sound. But the intercessor's in the back just going, Jesus, I need you. Right? Do you mean it? Because we think volume equals faith. Have you ever considered that your heart posture is more important to God than your volume? He says, I want you to cry out for this nourishment. Why? Because expectation has a voice. Has a voice. Now some of you are like, I don't crave God at all. I just came here with my girlfriend because she wanted to come be at church today, and I don't crave God at all. Or I did back in the day, but pain and suffering and loss, I've deconstructed, I've lost my faith in God. I'm just here out of discipline because I'm a good Southern boy and I go to church on Sundays, but I have lost all interest and concern for the things of God. I have lost my craving. That was so 10 years ago. Here's the thing about God. You are one cry away. And it sounds like this. God, I don't crave you, but I want to. God, I don't have anything in me that longs for you. Would you create something, God? Would you make something move within me? God, I used to long for you 10 years ago, but I don't anymore. God, would you create something? Would you cultivate something? You are one cry away. Furthermore, friends, since when did the acknowledgement of reality mean a lack of faith? We're so scared to name reality because we think God doesn't live in it. Many of us, we use prayer as an escape, not an involvement. We use our prayer closet as a way to escape this little world, as if God's not in the reality of our pain and our suffering and our loss and our anger and our... These cravings are cried out for. That's why worship involves your voice. It's always funny to me, especially with dudes. I'm gonna pick on dudes for a second. Dudes, we at our church, we're downtown Portland. They're sitting there just. What's the best, even right now? I think you guys forget, I can see you. You know that, right? It's like when I make a comment and you go, I see you. Oh, this dude last week was knocked. And we have like a 101-year-old church. We have pews in our church still. And there's these big wooden things right here. And he, and just nailed his temple. Woke him up. And I saw it. And he went, like he knew I saw. Like, I can see you, right? And it happens all the time. Guys out of church like, church was all right today. As if your body doesn't have to be involved. As if your voice doesn't have to be involved. And again, you leave church unfed. Not because the table wasn't set, it's because you didn't pull a chair up. We leave churches going, I like Lyle's word last week better. Where's Allison? I like hers. Where's Michelle? She gives the good words. Where's Nicole Duckworth? I like her voice. Oh, I know everybody here. Where's Colton? Let him sing one of them songs. I like the bearded wonder. I like him on the piano better than right? Like, what we start doing, we start telling God how we eat. And then we leave church unfed. Craving has a voice. Here, I'll end here. Fifth and most important is where I want to land. Cravings create priorities. I love dudes that think that church is too early on Sundays, but you give them a tea time. Dude, you tell a dude we're teeing off at 6:15, they're up at 4:45, fake swinging. They got that coffee brewing, they're stretching, they're cleaning their clubs, but church is too early. You tell a girl to tithe and I can't afford it, but you say, let's go to New York, and she has money apparently. We are always poor. My household, we are broke until New York gets brought up, and Julie's like, I found money. Why? Because you will always create space for things you long for. There's this restaurant in downtown Vancouver in Washington, like right across our bridge, our state. And it's a deep fried chicken sandwich grilled in caramel sauce, chipotle mayo, and on this ciabatta bun, and it comes with string fries with a side of spicy ranch. Friends, I've tasted God. And in my house, if I'm in downtown Portland, my house is south, and that sandwich is north. And there's some days where Julie's like, babe, can you get the kids at 2? But at like 1:35, that craving comes, and I have to make a decision. Get a divorce or get that sandwich. And there's traffic. My kids have to sit and wait for me at school. And I'll go get that sandwich. and I'll eat it in the car and throw away the bag so there's no evidence. And I'll walk in and Julia's cooking focaccia bread and vodka sauce. She's like, you hungry? I'm like, I'm starving. I crave that sandwich a lot as a joke, but for real. It creates priorities. When you begin to crave God, it starts reordering your disordered priorities. Because in a very real way, cravings create priorities. In a very real way. That's why for some of you, you go to church 3 times a year. You're the Christers. Christmas and Easter and when your friend gets baptized, that's why you're ever at church. Because you don't crave God. So why would you make him a priority? You don't tithe, you don't serve, all the things we can go through. Why? Because there's other things that have created priorities in you. That's why you give to God last. Because Visa, the mortgage, the vacation, the new tattoo, I'm getting one by Bearded Wonder right after this day. The funny part is everyone doesn't have money until something they love gets brought up. They all of a sudden have money or they have time. So I've just come as your tattooed uncle to just simply ask you, what do you crave? What do you hunger and thirst for? I'm in the South, I get it. We all want to scream Jesus. But what happens when you don't anymore? What happens when that meal's gone stale? What happens when the Bible grows old? If you're like, that's gonna happen, stick around. Serving Jesus for more than a weekend is hard. Having the highs of a conference is so much fun. Serve him for 30, 40, 50 years. And you'll have these, I love you, where are you? You're the greatest, what are you doing? It's called the Book of Psalms. You're gonna have these moments where your craving dwindles and your appetite changes. What are you gonna do? Because there's some people in the room today. The reason why you're stuck in your pattern is because you crave some things you shouldn't crave. That's why. The reason why you go from experience to happiness, to addiction, to stuck, to experience. And you blame God for not being real or close enough. It's the fact that you want to address your cravings that keep you stuck in patterns that you don't want. I think all of us desire to crave God. I think we all want to crave God. I think, come in the room, I get it. But Fred, I'm a church kid. I'm so good at fake worship. I've been, if I don't get to heaven just based off church attendance, none of us are getting in. That's a fact. I've been in more retreats and advances and prayer nights, and I'm a church kid. I can do this and my heart not be there. I'm so good at fake church. Because I've had these moments of cravings being there and cravings not. These other cravings that I've had that have stolen my craving of God. I've come to invite you into this idea that you are called, Peter says, like a newborn baby to crave God. Cry out for this craving so that we might grow. There's such a world that we can cultivate this craving for God. We can grow, we can change. Could you imagine what God could do with this church and this city if it was full of people that craved what they should crave? And I'm done. I'll just say this, and I feel it a bit prophetically. If I can take a moment and I'll pray and we'll be done. Some of you crave things that aren't sinful, so you feel like you're okay. And you're so immature because your argument is, well, it's not sinful, but it's not helpful. it's actually deforming you. But that's not sinful. Is it helping you be more like Christ and forming you into his image? Ask that question. Some of you in the room today, you need to fix the craving of some things. They're not sinful. They're just not helpful. And they're actually deforming you in your journey of Jesus. If we stand to your feet, I want to pray for you. I think go take a shower. Dad, am I allowed to have Pastor Brian come sing a song? Do we have time or no? Are we allowed to? Pastor Brian, would you come sing a song real quick, just with your guitar? Just you? Yes. I want to sing that song that he sang toward the end. You've done great things. Because here's what I found. For many of you that have lost your craving, it's because you lost your memory. I found when you forget what he's done and your memory is affected, you start losing your craving. One of the greatest ways to re-surrender is remember. Some of you today have lost your craving, you've lost your desire, you've lost your hunger, you've lost your pursuit. It's because you've forgotten what he's done. And I'd like him just to sing that song again. For you've done great things. And some of you need to remind yourself all that he's been. His faithfulness, his goodness. All the times he was there when you thought he wasn't. You look back and go, oh, there you were. Oh, I didn't see you. I didn't sense you. I didn't know that you were there. I just want him to sing this again, that craving and that desire, because of your memory being set right, is going to be fixed today.